So in the last lesson, we went ahead and created this nifty little environment here. What we could do now is we can add some textures or materials to this environment. And we're going to learn how to make custom materials later. But for now, it'd be nice to have a material library that we can use to paint in our environment, especially for prototyping. What's nice is inside of Unreal, they've partnered up with or purchased, I think, this company called Quixel. So let's go ahead and look at how we can access the Quixel bridge. So instead of landscape mode here, click that and go ahead and hit selection. And then go ahead and click this little plus sign. And this icon where we can quickly add elements to our project is really useful because when you click on that, it gives you all of your basic tools. And then you can see up at the top, you can import content, which is characters and stuff. And you can also access the Quixel bridge. So go ahead and click that button. Now, it's really exciting to go in here because all of these assets are free for you to use for your project as long as you're using them for Unreal and no other game engine. So you can see there's 3D assets here, there's plants. If we go down here to 3D plants, what I want to do at first is just kind of introduce you to the materials. So if we scroll down, you can see there's an area called surfaces. And here you can see there's concrete, coal, grass, gravel, ground, historical. And what we'll do later on in the course is we'll actually look at a photo of some concept art and we'll try to find elements that match it the closest. Because a lot of times when you all are working in an architectural visualization or games or whatever simulations the industry is, they're gonna your art director is probably gonna give you a photo or some sort of reference to match. And you could use these textures or these elements to try to match it as close as possible. Right now, I just want to get you used to the Unreal interface and with Crixel Bridge here. So let's take a look at some of the stuff they have. Well, I know in my landscape here, right now we're just working on the ground. So we might as well select the ground element here and see what they have. And they have forest, they have jungle, they have other, they have roots. What I'd like to do is, as I'm going through this, I'd like to just sort of look for something that's like a nice grass. So this is a mossy forest floor. Well, this is a really nice mossy ground. You could also up in the top here type in grass and take a look at the different types of grass that they have inside of here. And I think this, let's see, rocky steep, that looks kind of cool. That might be nice to use up here. And for the sake of time, just pick whatever you like. Here's wild grass. And I feel like out here that you wouldn't necessarily have anything that isn't, you know, like kept, like this isn't mowed lawns out here. So I think a wild grass would be nice. I'm going to click on that. And again, you could always change this and experiment it. And it looks like I still need to sign in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that myself. Now, I had a little bit of an issue. I had to do it a couple times to sign in. So if it's happening to you, don't worry, just keep trying. Now, because I have a very powerful computer, I can go with high quality here. If you need to, I'm not going to take points off or punish you if you use low quality. Again, if you have a little bit of a machine that struggles or you're waiting to get your new, more powerful machine, you can select low quality. So I'm going to select high quality here, and I'm just going to go ahead and click the download button here. Let's see. So if you select your wild grass, I've signed in, and you hit download, and you get this error, asset not available in US format, U asset format. What you want to do is you're using a different version. So let's go ahead and let's make sure we open our environment test bed. I had to actually close out and re-sign in. And then what you want to do is up in the corner here, under quick assets, instead of Quixel Bridge, you want to select Fab. Now, some of those same assets under materials and textures are not free, so we just want to go with the free one. So in the search here, I'm just going to type grass, make sure on materials and texture here, and I want to look for a free one. So here's uncut grass, so we'll just select that here, and then I'll just add that to my project. Again, I'm going to select high quality. I don't want to do raw, I just want to do that so that I get my 3 different materials here, and then hit add to project, or textures rather. And then you want to agree if that's what you want to do, what you want to for this course. And then you don't necessarily have to get receive news and surveys. So go ahead and hit accept here. And once that's done, you'll see in the bottom right hand corner, it'll import it into your scene. And it'll create a folder inside your content called surfaces. And then you can go to uncut grass, high, and just drill down all the way down to materials. And this will be your material here. And then it'll take a second to load in. And now you can see that we have our grass material. Now what I want to do essentially is grab a couple other ones, a stone and maybe a dirt and a snow. So let's just go to grass and then let's type in maybe rock actually. Let's see what rock gives us. And again, let's see. Price, we want to go with show only show free products here. And trying to think of like with this little bit of a brightish green, like what rock might be a nice contrast to that. Again, pick whatever you like. I think this one is fine. This one right here. And I'll add that to my project as well. And then finally, let's do snow. Actually, let's do dirt. And then we'll do a snow. Price, show only free products. And this is a little busy here. This military trenches one is probably fine. And let's go ahead and do snow here. And you could see here, just double track military trenches, rock, and uncut grass. I might change this from military trenches ground. So I'm going to right click and hit rename, or you could hit F2 and just name this dirt, just so we have that. I know which folder that is. Materials and textures, price, free. And this looks like a pretty compatible snow. This one right here. All right, let's go ahead and close this out. And it looks like they downloaded pretty well. It's going to right click and rename this one as well, snow. All right, so now that we have these, I'm going to go up to this surfaces folder here, and I want to create a master material. Essentially, that's going to link off of all of these other materials are going to link to. So I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to just create a new material, and we call that m underscore environment underscore master. And that's just to specify that it's a master material. I'm going to double click this, and I'm going to dock it inside of my editor here. And at first, these nodes and stuff can feel a little daunting if you're used to just dragging textures in Unity like we've done in previous classes. But don't worry, this is a very powerful way of doing it, of setting up our materials. And it gets pretty comfortable after a while after you realize like base colors where you plug in your texture, specular shininess, and all this, metallic and roughness. We can modify these to give us reflection. And normal gives us a fake sense of bump. So once we hook all these textures up, right now this might all seem like word salad until we get to that point. Now, what I'd like to do is import in inside of each one of these, in our content folder here. Let's see. I'd like to start bringing in all of those textures that we were working into in our surfaces folder. So let's see. Take a look here. We have Fab, we have Megascan, surfaces here. And so we'll start with essentially, let's see, uncut grass. So inside of here, what I want to do is go inside of my textures folder here. And I'm just going to highlight these three here. So I'm just holding the shift key, the shift key, and I'm bringing all three of these in here. And what you want to do as well is you want to make sure, as we're lining these up, that each one of these under, let's see, let's select this guy first, where it says gather mode none, you want to make sure that's set to none. From texture asset, you want to make sure that that's set to wrap, so that it wraps around the surface as we're painting. This is an important step because otherwise it might not show up on your environment. You might get like a checkerboard pattern. And if we see that later, like I forget to do that on one of them, we'll come back and fix this. And actually what I think I'd like to do is instead of using this texture sample here, I'm just going to delete that out, is I'd like to use this, it's kind of a packed, this one right here, this packed texture file. And what it does is it takes our red, green, and blue essentially information, and it helps us create a essentially like a different specular roughness. You'll see in a second what this does. Make sure that's set to shared wrap. And actually, one other thing that I want to point out about having this pack texture that it combines these different grayscale maps into the RGB is that not only is it dealing with metallic roughness and opacity, it's extremely performant by doing this. And we've done it in a lot of games. And again, I don't want to get too far into the sticks since a lot of this is new to you. And I don't want to confuse or bore you with a bunch of just wordage. So let's see how this stuff works. And just for a little bit more clarity, ambient occlusion here is our red channel here, and then I believe our green is our metallic, and then I believe our blue is roughness. And we're really just going to be using these two because ambient occlusion is essentially when two objects meet, you'll see that little shadow information. We really want to get that. It adds an extra layer to our essentially our scene. All right, so let's go back down into our content drawer here. I hit Control and Spacebar, and what I want to do is do the same thing for dirt. And what I might do is just to save time, I will just go ahead and pause the video and then bring these in. So I grab these three, and I'll just show you, and we'll go into rock and just do the same thing. All right, so I went ahead and I paused it and I just kind of placed these out like this. You can see our grass, our dirt, our rock, and then I actually grabbed our snow and I just kind of placed it back here for now. I'm gonna put this a little bit more central here. And then make sure to save this, apply, save, and then also keep saving your project. Now, in order to get all of our base colors to match up, and these are, for those coming from Unity, you can think of these as your albedo texture. We need to use a landscape coordinate node, and this will allow us to wrap the texture essentially around our material. And remember, all of these, you want to make sure that it's not set from texture asset to, you want to make sure it's set to wrap here as well. Otherwise, you're going to have some issues when we go inside of Unreal, or we take it into the editor rather. So make sure that all these are in shared wrap and save and apply that. And then, so let's do landscape here. And we want this layer coordinate node. And then we're just going to wire this into each of our UV colors here. And I struggled a little bit with that bottom one. Here we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to put it a little bit lower here. Just kind of center it with all of these. And apply and save that. And actually, now that I think about it, I think I might just break this into one for each section, which might make it a little bit easier. So I'm just going to select this guy, hit Command or Control D. You can also copy and paste it by hitting Command C, Command V. And I'm just going to place one on each one here. And I'm going to spare you the watching me hook up one for each section. So I'll pause the video and then we'll take a look at it. All right, so you can see here that I essentially just plugged it into the UV channel for each one. And then again, apply and save that. All right, now in order to get all of these different textures to blend over our landscape, we're going to use a landscape layer blend node, which is this one right here. And once you select this, you can see there's a section here called layers. And again, you want to make sure this is selected, and we know it's selected because it's in orange. And we just want to hit plus here. And under each layer, we want to rename each one. So for instance, this one is grass. And, all right, and so let's go ahead and shrink this. And let's add another one. We've got our grass. Let's do one for dirt. And you'll see it'll update here. This will be snow. And our last one is rock. Let's apply and save that. Now I'm going to duplicate essentially this 3 other times. And what I'm going to do for this is essentially each one of these nodes is going to represent color, essentially AO, normal map, and so on. I'm just hitting Control D, bringing that down here. Next, so we can kind of keep them close-ish together so that we can sort of see them all. So I've got 4 of these total. All right, so let's comment these so we know what each one does. I'm going to highlight this one, hit the C for comment, and name this color. C again, normal. C, AO. Make sure to apply and save it. I've been having some issues with Unreal crashing lately. Just going to kind of keep these a little bit more compact. This one is roughness. All right, so this can be a little tricky. So what we're going to do is I'm going to sort of move this around and then put it back. So this color channel is we're going to grab the RGB from each one of these textures. So for example, we have grass. Let's try that one more time. Grass. There we go. And then this is dirt. And then that's what I was saying about moving it around. If you're having a hard time, just grab it, plug this one into snow. And then here's our rock. And then just kind of put it back up here. Ah, there we go. My Mac is a little touchy, as many of you already know if you've taken other courses with me. So, all right, here. So here's my normal. And again, remember you're grabbing your RGB here for the normal. So we grabbed our RGB from our grass here. Let's grab it from the normal map for our dirt. Snow. And then rock. Now, before you get ahead of yourself, ambient occlusion is a little different. Remember, I was talking about this pack texture here. There's a red, green, and blue channel that it represents the different elements, like whether it's ambient occlusion and so on. So with this, the red channel is what represents the ambient occlusion, and the green channel represents roughness. So down here in AO, grab your red channel, grass, dirt, and it's easy to kind of get these confused. And let's see, bringing this all the way down here. Oh, that's not, that's rock. That's what I meant. And I literally just confused myself. All right, and then this one is for snow. Because you got these wires running everywhere. So that's why it's good to comment and keep things kind of organized the best that you can. And then for roughness here, I'm just going to start down here because it's the closest. Grab that green channel, plug that in for rock, grab the green channel here for snow. And then this is dirt. And then last, green channel for grass. And you can kind of grab all of these and just sort of space them out a little bit more. And because we're moving from version to version, we might hit a couple errors, which is good in the sense of, we try to tackle as many of those errors as we can in the video. So I'm going to compile, save, and apply those changes. And another thing we want to do is we want to add opacity mask here, and this will allow us to paint out the visibility of certain parts of our level. So go ahead and select this environment here and scroll down. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Surface type blend mode. And I just want to select, let's see, masked. Let's save that as well. And that should open up your opacity mask here too. And to get this to work with our landscape, we need to add a landscape visibility mask. And we're just going to plug that right into here. All right, so let's hook the rest of this up. Here's our color, so that goes in the base color. Here's our normal, goes into normal map. And ambient occlusion, I'm sure you get the idea. Let's move this a little bit down so that we can get easy access to our roughness up here. All right, so let's set this up. And like I said, we might hit a few snafus and stuff as we're setting this up because we're going to a newer version of Unreal. So here we are back in our layer or our environment, and let's select our level. And off here in the side, in order to hook up our texture, we're going to go to the details panel here. Let's pull this up a little bit, and you can see that there's a slot for our material, landscape material, and we named it M underscore environment. We could also just grab it from here and just drop it in. And it's going to give you this weird effect because it doesn't know how to reconcile that material that we just created, which is a blended material. So let's go to landscape here and go to paint mode. And what you're going to see is it says there's currently no target layers. This is what we're going to be using, like different materials to paint from. There's a little box here. It says create layers from assigned material. Go ahead and click that. And then what we need to do is we need to essentially let it know that these are weight blended materials. So go ahead and click on that and then just hit save. We'll save it in our scene. And that should give us, let's see, a little bit of something. It looks like we got a couple more errors. Let's see how we can fix that. I believe now, let's see, even though we have this wonkiness here, I can actually paint this in our scene. So if I scroll in here, you can see there's our grass material, even though we're getting this kind of wonky area here. So what we can do is go through each one of these and then weight blended layer, save. Just gonna do this for each one quickly. You can see if I select rock, I'm kind of painting, it's sort of blending between where the grass is. Let's see. And hit F to focus on this. I'm gonna bring my brush size down a little bit. So just kind of, there's our rock, at the top of these hills here. Let's say, for example, I want it to be snow. And just hold the left mouse button down to give me a little bit more opacity. Because you can see there's brush fall off, there's strength there. And again, I know it's in the older versions, I recall just like, it would just immediately just apply this as my master blend. So there could be something that I'm missing here, but so I'm not sure if I'm essentially missing a step here or because I don't think they have a fill bucket layer. So what I would do is just grab my grass and just paint the whole thing. And there could be a fill layer option that I'm just not familiar with at the moment, but just go through and just kind of fill the whole area with grass. Another thing to be mindful of is if you look at this, when we press play, this grass looks pretty good tiled, but if we go to other areas, maybe we come over here, you can see this looks very tiled and ugly. It doesn't look natural. So what you can do for each one of these is if we go to our master environment here, and here's, for example, our dirt. If I select this landscape control here, you can see a mapping scale. If I make this a little bit bigger, like 2, and I apply and save this, and I go back into our environment test bed here. Oops, let me undo that. Maybe select dirt. You can see now it looks a lot better because it's twice the size. Even in game, you can see now our grass looks better. So it's good to kind of increase that size there a little bit. Let's go ahead and save all of this. What I would suggest for now is where your character starts. And what I would do is I'd say, think about things like, okay, maybe I want my character to follow a specific path. So take some time, grab your dirt, and maybe some coffee if you drink coffee, and just start to paint maybe a dirt path or the grass path, depending on how you want to do it. And go in with your snow here, give yourself some snow on these higher capped mountains. And also go in and make your landscape a little bit better, right? Like really sculpt these areas out, have fun inside of here. Let's see. And, you know, yeah, I think that's good for this lesson. You got some painting going on. We've got a little bit of landscape going. And then in the next lesson, we'll take a look at adding some foliage.